Ashok Kumar Mittal, retired professor, Physics Department, University of Allahabad. I will be presenting module number 12, Gender Studies in Physics Education Research of paper 12, Women, Science and Technology of the PG E-Pathshala course in Gender Studies. This module provides a brief description of gender studies in physics education research with focus on gender gap observed consistently on tests of conceptual understanding. This module is based on studies conducted in US universities because evidence-based research on the subject in India is almost non-existent. The module is relevant in the Indian context as despite some educational and cultural differences with the American context, many factors responsible for gender differences may be similar. To a first approximation and as a social given, gender is a binary, male or female. Every person is born either a male or female. Their birth rate, death rate, and total number is nearly the same. Through social approval and disapproval, the two genders are disciplined to dress, behave, and think in different ways. On an average, males have greater height, weight, and strength than females. Until recently, females were also thought to have feebler brains, denying them education, voting rights, work outside the house, and equal status. Within a few centuries, things have changed in most of the enlightened world. Now, women have access to education and all types of professions. If women are underrepresented in any discipline or in any profession, it becomes a matter of concern, calling for proactive action. Whereas the gender gap in biological sciences has closed as a result of concerted efforts, the gender gap in physics, both in terms of representation and performance, has remained unbridgeable and inexplicable. Physics education research seeks to investigate different aspects of physics teaching and learning using research methodology similar to that used very successfully in other areas of physics. The beauty of physics is that a bewildering variety of seemingly different phenomena in nature can be understood in terms of very few concepts. Good physics learning should therefore impart good conceptual understanding. Tests for conceptual understanding in different topics in physics were developed that satisfied stringent requirements of reliability and validity. A standardized test, if administered before instruction, is known as a pre-test, and if administered after instruction ends, is called a post-test. Learning gains in conceptual understanding are obtained from scores on the pre and post tests. Learning gains produced by use of different teaching techniques provide a measure to compare their effectiveness. A robust result from PER studies is that interactive engagement teaching techniques lead to dramatically larger conceptual learning gains compared to traditional teaching based on lectures. Gender studies in physics education research have consistently shown that men score more than women in tests of conceptual understanding of different topics in physics. This figure shows that in almost all the studies that have been conducted, men have scored higher on the pre-tests. And this one shows that in most of the studies, men have performed better on the post-tests also. And this one compares the pre-test and post-test scores according to the gender and shows that gender gap is not decreasing after instruction. Okay. So these are normalized gains by gender. What are the possible factors for gender gap on tests of conceptual understanding in physics. Some of the factors that have been advanced are wording and context of questions in the tests, stereotype threat, underrepresentation of women in the classroom, underrepresentation of women in the faculty, few women role models in physics, socially induced traits in women do not align with the traits needed in physics. Biologically induced traits in women do not align with traits needed in physics. To study these factors, a revised force concept inventory was created by replacing all stereotypically male contexts by stereotypically female contexts. Problems are also made more concrete as female students are perceived to prefer concrete problems over abstract problems. Men's average score on the revised FCI was significantly less than on the original FCI. Women's average score increased slightly but not significantly. The conclusions drawn were females being used to male context had adjusted to them, whereas males being unfamiliar with female context were impacted adversely by female-oriented questions. On individual questions, the feminization of context dramatically impacted the performance of males and females, occasionally in a direction opposite to what one would expect. Stereotype threat. When members of a group perceive that their group does not perform, seem to be performing less than another group, their performance tend to be adversely affected. So if a group perceives that it is inferior to another group, its performance actually tends to become adversely affected. Stereotype threat could be a factor responsible for the gender gap. How can one counter this stereotype threat? An affirmative exercise is a 15-minute writing exercise in which students are asked to write about what they consider to be of most important value to them. This exercise has been shown to counter stereotype threat. During this exercise, just before a test, is known to counter the effects of stereotype threat. So, in some studies, it was found that the stereotype threat did decrease in the decrease the gender gap. However, the study could not be replicated. So, how to counter stereotype threat? An affirmative exercise is known to decrease the effect of stereotype threat. An affirmative exercise consists of a 15-minute writing exercise in which students are asked to write about what they perceive, what they consider to be their most important value in life. In one study, a brief values affirmation exercise helped significantly reduce the gender gap. However, this study could not be replicated by the same set of investigators in the same university after 2 years. So, in a study conducted at Harvard University, some interactive engagement techniques not only led to significantly learning gains in conceptual understanding, but also reduced the gender gap. In the most interactively taught courses, the pre-instruction gender gap was eliminated by the end of the semester. However, another study failed to replicate the results of this study. A meta-study involving review of 26 papers on gender gap explored 30 factors that could possibly be responsible for the gender gap and concluded that studies on intervention for reducing the gender gap lacked consistency and replicability. Gender gap arises from several factors, each having a small impact, so that gender gap cannot be eliminated or substantially reduced by modification of a single factor. Researchers have critiqued gender gap studies on several counts. Gender gap studies do not question whether the achievements of men are the most appropriate standard. Individual experiences and student identities are undervalued. The binary model of gender is not questioned. When a gap is noted between men and women, it is generally framed either implicitly or explicitly as why can't women be more like men? No one questions whether getting higher scores on standardized measures and persisting through physics majors is a good idea for both men and women. Is the goal to change women so that they can succeed in a culture where men are successful, or would it be would it be better to change the culture so that experience of men is not considered to be the best standard? Focusing on group differences based on gender identities undermines the complexities of individuals and their multiple identities. The differences between mean scores of men and women are much smaller than the differences within the same gender. Focus on gender gap takes away attention from non-gender factors that influence performance. Gender gap studies convey the impression that the performance of all women is lower than all men. They contribute to the stereotype that men are objective, rational, and logical, whereas women are subjective, irrational, and emotional. Some PR researchers have argued that binary gender model is too simplistic and ignores the complexities of gender, thereby restricting the research questions that PER investigations can ask in gender studies. They suggest that gender studies in physics education should be conducted within the framework of gender performance model. This theory challenges the view that biological differences in male and female inevitably lead to two distinct traits characterized by masculine and feminine. According to this theory, gender is a social construct created by our performance. It is conceptualized not as a trait of the individual, but as something that is created and negotiated by the individual in response to a specific social setting. Gender performance theory treats gender as more complex, fluid, and dependent on social context instead of as simple, permanent, binary, male or female fixed at birth. Some researchers in physics education argue that the focus should be on understanding the multiple identities of an individual, including gender in the sense of gender performance theory. This understanding can help create an educational environment better aligned to initial individual subjectivities. Good physics education will then mean modification of these traits so that individual can become more productive in appreciation and creation of physics. Words often used to describe physics are objective, quantitative, rational, detached, logical, abstract, theoretical, in the lab, elite, authoritative, value-free, universal. These words are also regarded as stereotypical male traits. It is then argued that to do well in physics, it is necessary to do the masculine gender. However, this is a very simplistic view. The creation of physics concepts as well as teaching them requires the interplay of supposedly masculine traits described by these words as well as the so-called feminine traits described by their opposites: subjective, qualitative, emotional, personal, intuitive, concrete, practical, in the everyday, accessible, egalitarian, value-laden, local. Stereotypically, it is assumed that females are subjective, so they do not naturally align well with an objective and therefore masculine subject like physics. What does it mean to say that physics is objective? Sensory data input is processed by a complex neuronal network before our perception of reality is created. In this sense, all knowledge is subjective. Those aspects of reality, for example, a pointer lying between two marks on a scale, which are perceived the same by all observers with the exception of the neuronally damaged, are called objective. Physics is considered objective because all concepts developed in physics have to be consistent with all possible objective observations. It is an unverified assumption that anyone who wants to can develop the logical and reasoning skills required for testing this consistency. Most students are not able to develop through their physics education, especially if they can pass the test by memorization. There may be people whose neuronal network, that is the brains, are naturally aligned with the logical and reasoning needed in physics. There may also be brains which are not so aligned, but with proper education can become so aligned. There may also be brains which are so structured that they cannot develop these skills however hard they may try and whatever education they may be subjected to. The last possibility has never been tested. People are forced to leave the field or leave it on their own when they do not do well on the tests. In case there are many people who cannot be trained into acquiring the required reasoning skills, the claims to objectivity of physics will be seriously undermined, as it will become merely a subjective agreement of an elite group. Gender in the conventional binary sense is the most important, visible, inseparable identity of a person, highly accentuated by society. It tends to be emotive, and therefore it is necessary to bring high standards of scientific temper in designing gender studies and interpreting their results. To understand scientific temper, one has to look at the history of how the scientific approach emerged as a reliable way of understanding nature. Skepticism and continual testing, revision of beliefs with emphasis on reasoning and evidence is fundamental to scientific temper. The advantages of this approach become clear when contrasted with other approaches to knowledge that do not allow the questioning or revision of what is given in particular books or what is asserted by authority or what is believed traditionally. On an average, women score less than men does not mean all women score less than all men. Gender gap studies should certainly not be interpreted to imply that women are not fit to pursue physics. They should not be used to discourage women from pursuing physics. Nor should they be artificially encouraged to pursue physics so that women have equal representation in physics. Gender equity does not mean equal numbers. Gender equity means each individual having the freedom to pursue what she wants without being handicapped in any way by her gender identity.